For months now, ICE has been quietly buying warehouses around the country.
Neighbors go missing.
Close to 75,000 people arrested by ICE had no criminal record.
People go in.
Sleeping on the floor, little to no food.
And profit comes out.
CoreCivic and Geo Group are cashing in on mass deportations.
But we can stop it before it starts.
GTFO ICE. It's a nationwide rapid response network to stop ICE prison camps.
We know the playbook.
Rumors of an ICE detention facility are being met with some big pushback.
Public debate erupted over the proposed facility.
So we built the network.
Let's use this data to alert Americans about these facilities, to crowd cancel them.
To show up.
Hundreds of people pouring out of the surprise city council meeting.
To shut it down.
ICE detention center has been scrapped.
And to say,
to ICE, get the out.
I feel a lot of pressure to keep up the high energy after that lead-in. It's a great video, Mercedes. Welcome to another GTFO National Call. My name is Xander Schultz. I'm the co-founder of Defiance, if you can't tell by the neon behind me and the logos on my shirt and all the other ways that I am shamelessly wearing all of our swag. My hat's around here somewhere. And we are one of the 3 coalition members that founded GTFOICE.org so we can stop prison camps before they start, along with Project Saltbox and Save America movement. And what are these calls? Look, GTFO ICE, first and foremost, was about creating a rapid response network. So you enter your information, your phone number, your email, and your zip code. And when a prison camp is being built in your area, you are alerted with a game plan on how to stop it and the local organizing group leading the fight. But also, we do these national calls because we bring together our entire network, both the GTFO ICE network, the Save America Movement network, the Project Saltbox network, Defiance.org's network, come together when we have a national action. And that's what we have today. But before we get into that, let's bring on our buddy, Michael Riston from Project Saltbox, who's going to give us an update on the field. Michael, how you doing, buddy?
I'm actually doing pretty good tonight. This is a good night. We're going to talk about a lot of things we can celebrate tonight.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking at our conversation earlier. I'm kind of fired up about every one of the questions we have for you. So you got some news, some good news today that ICE is selling some warehouses. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, New York Times reported that ICE is looking to offload 7.
Michael, my audio is a little odd. Yours is coming through a little odd for me, which is funny because I was just talking to you backstage.
Yeah, that's so weird. How's this now?
You sound like a cricket.
You've
got a cricket sound effect going. Mercedes, any advice? Okay, the chat is also saying we've got some stats.
You know who I blame?
Oh, you sound great.
Blame. Is that better?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. What'd you do?
Okay. Well, there we go.
You're back in. We will never hear who you blame.
I blame ICE. ICE did this to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about how they're losing.
Yeah, hang on. Now I can't hear you. Oh my gosh, we're being hacked.
This happens every call. I don't know why. All right. Attempt number 3. Michael, you here? Good. You can hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We're back. We're all the way back.
Gosh.
All right.
Hey,
tell me about these warehouses being sold. What's going on, Riz?
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, New York Times reported that the ICE was looking to offload 7 of the 11 warehouses that it purchased, to the tune of $700 million. Wow. And hot on the heels of that news, we started seeing court filings hitting, different district courts and federal courts around the country. The first one was in Romulus, Michigan. The AG in Romulus, the AG in Michigan, the town council of Romulus, and DHS agreeing to pause litigation and begin to work together so that ICE can offload that warehouse in Michigan. And just 20 minutes ago, same filing hit Roxbury, New Jersey, the AG in New Jersey and ICE acknowledging that they are looking to offload that warehouse either through sale or giving it to a different federal agency. But we're talking about 7 of the big ones getting pulled out of ICE's roster. That is a huge victory.
That certainly sounds like a huge victory. I was just wondering, is there anything else we should be making of it? How are you reading between the lines here? Is this an acknowledgement that they are rapidly shifting strategies for how they accomplish this prison camp goal?
Yeah, it's two things. So first of all, it's an acknowledgement that the warehouse plan was completely infeasible, that there was realistically no way to make that work. We know that there has been some strife within the contracting world, that certain contractors that have been awarded, work at the warehouses are now looking to undo that and get rid of those contracts because they're realizing just how infeasible it is. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, ICE has acknowledged and is very upfront that what they're looking to do now is use existing detention space or build its own detention space.
So another chapter in the fight, and we're going to have to, continue. This is why GTFO is so important, because it's an evolving playbook. This is not a static playbook. We've got a very experimental administration trying to do many things to hit their mass incarceration goals here. We've also got news out of California coming from the Attorney General's office. What do you got for us there, Wisdom?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, San Jose Spotlight reported that ICE was looking to procure, or actually that it had leased land in just outside of Gilroy, California, and they were planning on using that land to convert it into some form of immigration enforcement property. But it wasn't very, it was very opaque. The documents were marked as GSA. Nothing really tied it back to ICE until they, San Jose Spotlight did some digging, found the actual blueprints for that facility. And the Attorney General in California filed suit against ICE looking to block that development. If you remember the last call that we did a couple weeks ago, we talked about FOIA requests and how people can use FOIA for good. We submitted a FOIA request to the General Services Administration asking for any environmental work that ICE did or that GSA did at that facility, and we got that. We got that document, and what we found was that they used the same strategy of categorical exclusion, basically saying we're going to convert this into some sort of detention center or some sort of immigration enforcement center, and we're going to exempt ourselves from the environmental work by saying it's a like for like switch. The way the property is currently being used is exactly how we're going to use it, or close enough. But the way the property has been used historically up until about 2024 is as a agricultural pesticide research farm. And
not
so
exactly a prison.
Yeah, not exactly a prison and not exactly an immigration enforcement zone. Yeah. So we got that document, and on June 19th, we sent that over to the AG's office. And they immediately filed an injunction basically saying that ICE is circumventing environmental law. And so they're filing for a preliminary injunction. And that's great news. And it just shows how folks out there, regular, normal, average, everyday folks, can request documents, get their hands on it, and use it. Provide it to your elected representatives, provide it to the people that have the muscle to do this kind of work. And it's a great relationship, and that means it's a big win for the people of California. And we're going to watch that very closely.
Does that show you how they're just banking on us being disengaged?
Absolutely.
When they say this is a like for like switch, and we're just hoping no one that cares looks at the fine print, and we're going to
exactly that
through this process.
It's pencil whipping. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is essentially just filling out the forms and making them look right and submitting them and hoping no one calls them on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is why. Can you just real quickly recap that request, because it's still live. We still want people making. Just because we have a different action this week doesn't mean we don't want you making FOIA requests. Can you recap that action?
Yeah. From last week? Quick recap. You can, through the Freedom of Information Act or through your state sunshine laws, request government documents. You have to be specific. You have to be narrow. You have to tell them exactly what you're looking for, specific date ranges. But you should be asking, if you see that they're going to, if you catch wind that there's going to be a detention center coming to your town, or if you hear rumors that they're planning on buying, commercial space or leasing commercial space, the next thing that you should be doing is submitting requests to your city, your town, or your county, asking for any permits that ICE may have pulled. You want to go to the General Services Administration and ask for any lease documents, contract records over the last year that might show that they have interest. And you want to go to ICE and ask for the same thing, cover your bases. Mm-hmm. If you do that, it's going to take them a while to get back to you. But when they do get back to you, what you'll have your hands on are the definitive records that show the action that ICE took leading up to that procurement. So that's the ask. When you do that, if you get those records, think of us. You can email it to us at projectsaltbox@proton.me. And we will very happily either connect you with the people that can use them the best, or we'll put them out there for the public to have so that other activists, other engaged people can use those documents to fight these detention centers.
We were just talking about this at the end of our last show, that democracy at this point is a 365 job. You know, Americans got used to showing up at the midterms, maybe showing up at the general, and it was a, 2 times every 4 years job. It is a 365 job to be the custodians of our towns, of our cities, of our states, and to fight back, because we have a nefarious federal government that is trying to, profit and grift based on the idea that we are not paying attention, that we're not paying attention enough, and we won't stop them. But we do have processes to stop them. And so thank you so much, Michael, for leading this type of engagement that allows us to get the best possible information on what ICE is planning to do, and then organizing to stop it. You and your organization are the backbone of the GTFO ICE movement here, and we really owe you a debt of gratitude. Before you go, though, I know you're the bringer of good news today, which is so nice. We have one more development coming out of Texas. I don't know. I might have set you up for failure. I don't know if that's good news, but we have another development coming out of Texas. Are you leaving us on a high note or a low note?
Yeah, I'm going to leave us on a high note here. So again, Socorro, Texas was one of the warehouses, one of the largest warehouses, intended to hold 8,500 people. State, or actually a federal representative, Democratic representative for that district, met with ICE, and they have informed her, and she published just, I think June 16th or June 15th, basically said they're not using that, they're not selling that facility. They're not getting rid of that warehouse land, but they're not going to use it for immigration detention. They are instead going to use it for office space and vehicle storage. So it's a bit of a win. It's a good win, right? They're not offloading the land per se.
Definitely, I'd rather have vehicles stored than people, for sure. It's a big win. Yeah, 100%. Look, I feel very optimistic based on everything you just shared, and I think your job, the type of investigative journalism and investigative reporting you all are doing, is more important than ever in these transitionary moments where they're moving from one strategy to another. Because as I mentioned, it's going to be a whole new playbook, whole new actions for this community to take as we figure out what they're planning next. So thank you, Michael Riston, for your partnership in this project and all the beautiful work you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks, Xander. Take care.
All right, brother. Let's keep rolling on through. I'm bringing on one of my favorite people on the planet, Bianca Tylik. Not only is she one of my favorite people, she's the executive director of Worth Rises and the author of the book, The Prison Industry, How It Works and Who Profits. Bianca, what's going on? How you doing?
Going. So great to see you, Xander.
Nice to see you. Look, when all this started going down, a lot of us were horrified about the idea of our immigrant neighbors being thrown into mass detention centers, and probably guessed what the conditions probably looked like for a Trump administration that said they wanted to be the Amazon of essentially human beings, right? And so a lot of us felt horrified. And then talking to you, unfortunately, what I learned is a lot of us who oppose this might also be invested in this very same system. Can you break down exactly what you mean when you say that?
Sure. And I do want to know, the analogy to Amazon is such an interesting one, because the big private prison companies that we're going to be talking about, Geo Group and CoreCivic, one of the founders of CoreCivic actually once upon a time said, you sell beds in prisons the way you sell hamburgers. And so these types of analogies to basically everyday things have been happening for a really long time, as it's like they're not people now. So how are people, sort of implicated in this themselves? Well, what I think a lot of people don't know is that they likely hold CoreCivic or Geo Group stock in their retirement plans. Through a specific company, which is Vanguard, not just Vanguard, but BlackRock and some other major managers of retirement funds, right? They own huge shares in these two specific companies. So just to back up, CoreCivic and Geo Group, these are the two largest private prison companies in the country. They hold over 90% of the people who are in immigration detention are in one of their facilities.
Wow.
And they bring in roughly $5 billion in revenue every year between the two of them. A big portion of their revenue is all driven by ICE and federal contracts. And they are publicly traded companies, right? These are companies that you can buy shares of on the stock market. And as such, they find themselves in index funds and all types of sort of different money vehicles. Well, Vanguard, which is one of the nation's largest retirement plan provider, is the second largest owner of both CoreCivic and Geo Group. And I'm not talking about maybe a 1% or 0.5% exposure. We're talking about 2-digit percent ownership, right? 11 and 13% ownership of these companies, which is massive, right? To own more than 1/10 of a company that's in the public market makes you a major shareholder. And because it is one of the largest retirement plan providers in our country, many people every day log in to manage their retirement account through their employer, and they're logging into Vanguard's system. And whether they're logging into Vanguard's system and therefore sort of legitimizing Vanguard's role in our retirement system, or they are, logging into another but still invested in Vanguard funds, supporting this company in any which way, paying fees to them, regardless of whether you're invested in the specific fund that owns the company, is problematic, because it, again, continues to legitimize how they do their business. So it's sort of ubiquitous, and the question is like, can we start doing something about it?
Can we? You set me up for my next question. What can we do? What can we ask of our employers? What's the process once you're aware of this? And I think many people, including people I work with, were like, "Shit, my retirement fund's with Vanguard. What do I do about this?" Can you walk us through that? What's that look like? What's the action look like here?
Absolutely. And I will say I've done this actually at an employer that I was at previously very successfully. It is not actually quite difficult. You go to your employer, usually the operations or the HR folks, whoever sends you information about your 401k or 403b, your retirement money, that's the person you want to go talk to, or that's the team. And you go ask them and you just say really point blank, can we just switch providers? Can we switch providers if we're using Vanguard as our retirement platform? And if we're not using Vanguard, or even if we are and we switch, can we make sure that there are no Vanguard funds on our platform available to employees? So we can send a message to Vanguard that it's not okay. This is not something that is going to be permissible for us in our accounts. And as I'm sure major employers would say, oh, well, that's a very difficult process and all these different things. It's not. While Vanguard is one of the largest providers of retirement systems or retirement plans, it's by far the only, right? Far from the only, I should say. You have Fidelity out there and Charles Schwab and all these other big commercial players. And that'll be the next thing you hear, right? Well, everyone's going to have the same exposure. Not at all. Fidelity doesn't even show up in the top 20 owners of these stocks. And if that's your biggest competitor at a very comparable size, then it's really inexcusable, actually, that you, Vanguard, have chosen, right, to expose yourself at these levels. So it is not true, as again folks will try to say, that it's just because they're in index funds, there's nothing we can do, there's all this passive investing. No, actually, all the other major commercial providers, again, don't even find themselves in the top 20 owners of these companies. If they're exposed at pretty small levels, and as I was saying, under 1% or things of those sorts. So it is an intentional decision, and one that can be shifted. And that's what needs to be communicated to your HR department or your 401k manager. And from then, it's a simple process of putting out potentially an RFI or just talking to different fund managers or retirement plan providers and signing a contract with a new one. At the shop that I was at, it had a couple hundred employees that worked across, all different sort of social justice issues. And we put up this issue and wanted to move from Vanguard. It was about a 3 to 6 month process from the moment that I got the concern to the decision point to then actually, calling new plan providers, seeing what the options were, and implementing and educating the staff on why we made the change and where we were going.
if someone wants to be successful, you're a great political organizer in the outside world when you're not internally or organizing, right? You've led efforts that made phone calls from prison free in San Francisco and New York City. Connecticut became the first state to make phone calls from prison free thanks to your work. I imagine if people really want to be successful here, on top of their individual advocacy to their employer, there's an organizing component. Can you talk about the role of organizing their peers?
Absolutely. So, I mean, within your company and also within your life, right, there is always opportunity to get other people to take action. And I think the most important thing to remember is that every single person's action matters, largely because it influences the next person to do a thing. And in mass, things really do change. And so, if you're doing something like this at your firm, ask some of your colleagues, like, who are the people you go to lunch with? Right? Is there some teammates that you like to grab drinks with on Friday? I would guess that maybe you do because you share some values. And those are the folks that maybe are the first people that you want to ask, hey, do you want to join me? Right? In asking for this up the chain. And as you do that, you can do all types of things. You can either send a sort of email with a bunch of people on it. You can do an internal letter that a whole bunch of employees or staff sign. You can do an internal petition. It is always better to stand out there with folks. Now, that doesn't mean if you can't find folks not to do it. But I would say certainly the more, friends that you can find among your other employees, I think the better. And then don't stop there, which is, your friends, go ask your friends to do the same things at their companies, or your family and things like that. Always collective action is stronger than individual in most cases.
And the timing for this is great, right? Like, Bianca, you and I have tried to advocate for justice reform in times where everyone was interested in it and in times when no one was interested in it. It's easier when everyone's interested in it. And the prison camps that Trump is putting up is a opportune time to talk about divesting from the type of, companies that are profiting from a mass incarceration system you probably already disagreed with. So, as they say, never waste a crisis. This is on the top of a lot of folks' minds, and there's a lot of people talking about it. I want to hit an important point, though, Bianca, because you mentioned that 10% ownership that Vanguard has.
More than
I want to divest at least 10%. Yeah, double digits in both companies. I want to divest because it makes me feel good. But this campaign isn't only about feeling good. What happens if we're able to lead a mass divestment campaign?
Sure. So the goal is to eventually get Vanguard to drop its ownership stake, right? So if there's enough people pressuring the company that they lose essentially business from their retirement business, which is their, one of their largest portfolios, then, that pressures the company to actually say it's going to divest. If you divest more than 10% ownership of a publicly traded company, that company will naturally be in crisis. That is a huge amount of money that, creates a sell-off. And as market capitalization falls, meaning like as the market price falls, the market capitalization falls, these companies can borrow less. They can borrow less and their rates go up for what they can borrow, which means that all the money that they would otherwise have access to for expanding facilities starts to dry up. And so it's very serious. And it's not just that. There's also the potential that it encourages index funds to actually drop them. Right. And then other retirement plan providers, we had, briefly mentioned BlackRock. BlackRock isn't necessarily a retirement plan provider, but it does have a lot of retirement funds. And it's the only owner that is larger or owns a larger share than Vanguard. And so that sort of starts sending a signal to the sphere that if this happened to Vanguard, it can happen to us. And what you can start to see is this like mass sell-off and mass exodus, potentially even an impact on the index funds and things of that sort that also carry them. And so that's kind of, it's a big market push that can have pretty significant impacts on these two companies. And given that they, are currently managing more than 90% of immigration beds, certainly would impact the infrastructure of ICE.
Yeah, so just saying back to you and also making sure I'm getting it right. Vanguard loses clients. Vanguard says, shit, I don't want to lose clients anymore. Let's get rid of these guys that are causing us to lose our clients. They drop Geo Group and CoreCivic. those stock prices start dropping. And then just for performance reasons, ETFs might drop them, other groups might drop it, and it creates a vicious cycle of basically sell-offs for groups that you said are covered 90% of the prison system between those two groups. What was the number you used earlier?
Pension system.
Say
So
again?
of the immigration detention system.
Immigration detention system. Sorry. Yeah.
90% of people who are held in immigration detention are held in a prison run by one of these two companies.
All right, gang. We made it easy for you to, if you couldn't remember all this, that's fine. We made a website for you. If you go to gtfoice.org/divest, and Mercedes has put it into the chat a couple times. I'll put it into the chat a couple times. We're going to email it to you later. There are all the details you need. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, let's go sign that form. We're gonna share that with Bianca, so her team's gonna be able to help you out and understand if you get stuck along the way. They're gonna help you get unstuck, and then send this to 3 friends. Like I said, this is a moment. This is a moment where people are thinking about this. They would be disgusted to learn they are profiting from prison camps, that they're probably at the No Kings March protesting. No one wants to be a hypocrite. Reach out to 3 friends. Tell them to reach out to 3 friends. Let's go blow this up. You're going to get a follow-up email tomorrow to Divest. It's funny. This started as many things do with me and Bianca. I tell Bianca, I'm like, Bianca, I got a brilliant idea. I think there's a moment we can get divestment from these prison companies because of what's going on with prison camps. And Bianca, as she's done many times, goes, I'm already on it. I've got a campaign. I wrote a book about it. Here's how to do it. Just come on board.
Resources. It is a relatively simple ask. Like, this is, you sign up here, you have really a script already on the site. We'll provide you more information in the coming weeks. And it's a matter of sending an email to somebody at your company. It's truly not a very difficult ask, and yet can have a really, really outsized impact.
In fact, if you don't do it, Bianca and I are hosting Detention on Friday on a live stream where we're all going to sit together and just fire off those emails together. So get it done by Friday, gang. Bianca,
just had a moment. I said 11-year-old to me sitting in detention just had a moment. I'm like,
oh no, I know. I bet I had too many of those moments. Bianca Tyler, thank you for being you. Thank you for leading this fight. And thank you for helping us understand how to make an impact and fight back against Trump's prison network.
Thank you, Xander. Thank you so much.
All right, gang. That's it. That's all she wrote. Like I said, you've got 2 steps today. Follow the steps at gtfoice.org/divest. There's only 2 of them. Nice. Fill out a form and then reach out to your employer and send it to 3 friends. Those are the steps for today. Until next time, my friends, thank you so much for being a part of this big fight against prison camps in this country. We will not stand for them, and we will continue doing everything in our power to stop them. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye, gang.